Good evening, everyone. My name is Dipali, and I'm an alcoholic. I really want to touch on this topic because of social expectations and societal pressures and conditioning. It becomes very difficult for women to walk into the rooms in AA because we're already facing so many challenges. And I just feel that in today's so called modern society, it's very, very important to give women a safe space. And I want to touch on my genetic predisposition, which is coupled with social conditioning. And I want to start talking from who I was in childhood and how I became more prone to becoming an alcoholic and using alcohol to numb myself and escape. As a child, I was very shy, I was very obedient, very soft spoken, very meticulous. And I remember whenever I would hear my parents argue, I would get really consumed by my emotions and I would sit with a lot of sadness. I just didn't know how to let go. And, while growing up, the elders in my family ingrained this idea of being perfect in my mannerism and appearance. So I started striving to be perfect. And I think it's a very, very tall order to follow at such a young age. And my social instincts kind of went warped because beauty is superficial. And I started relating myself to my appearance. And I thought if I have flaws, then, I'm not capable or worthy of love. And also, during my time, there was no talk on mental health, there were no coping skills, emotional maturity, emotional intelligence when I was in school. So I just felt like as a young adult, I never learned how to deal with life. I was always consumed, by my emotions. And I went to school, I was a good student, and I realized school was always very fear based. There was always this sense of competition, comparison, judgment, and fear started following me from a very, very young age. And fear can actually be a very, very paralyzing feeling. And when there is this constant comparison and competition, I think somewhere you sit with the sense of low self esteem and not being good enough. And that was something that didn't help me to really grow as an adult. And it didn't really teach me how to be liberated. It didn't teach me how to be independent and didn't teach me how to think for myself. So I was always this very fearful child. I remember that when I was in college, and we women live with so many challenges. I was told your biological clock is ticking. You need to find somebody at the earliest to get married to. And what happens in such a situation is you start making decisions out of fear and out of desperation. And as women, we always put in boxes and we are given limits, we are given labels, and then we start living with limiting beliefs. And we don't tap into our highest potential because of those limiting beliefs. And I was involved in my first relationship at this time, and the person that I was dating, and we dated at that time to get married, and it was a very serious relationship. Was into substance use, and he had behavioral addictions. And at the time, there was no talk on addictions, mental health, even though it was so prevalent in the society. So these kind of issues kind of always remained unaddressed. So in the relationship, my focus from my career went to becoming a caretaker and a disciplinarian. And you know how we take addiction so personally, because I did not know at the time that he's suffering from a disease. So I thought, is it because of me that he's acting out in weird ways? Are those insecurities coming from me? And look at how ironic it is. From becoming a caretaker and a disciplinarian, I became an alcoholic moving forward. And life is really very ironic there. So this relationship broke up, and I was sitting with a lot of sadness. There was a hollow feeling, there was a sense of loss, and I really did not know how to cope with my emotions because I had no tools, no coping skills. And friends at that time would say, have a drink, you'll feel better. And alcohol is very socially acceptable. Recreational drinking is extremely common. There are no talks about responsible drinking. And I started using alcohol as a crutch. And alcohol is a downer and a depressant. And of course, the drinking now progressed, and I was drinking to escape, instant gratification, I developed a scapegoat mentality. I started blaming the world for my problems. I would sit and argue with my parents. And I started playing victim. And playing victim in itself becomes an addiction. I started feeding off that negativity. And my parents intervened, and thank you for the fact that my parents intervened and they started giving me gentle nudges. But at the time I was in a lot of denial, I was in a lot of resistance, and I really didn't know that alcoholism was a disease and that I'm an alcoholic. And um, I remember this one person from AA, and there were no alcoholics or addicts in my family. So um, my there was this one person from AA who came to the house to educate my family about the disease. And when that person said that she's an alcoholic, I remember I had so much anger, I had so much shame, and I wanted to wring that man's neck and ask him to get lost, because I was this person who was so disciplined, soft spoken. I was so morally upright, and here somebody is telling me something that is a social stigma, that is a matter of shame, that is a morality issue. And I was just in so much anger and denial. And when you and I was cornered by my parents. And I remember my father was the one, and my aunt came from Delhi. She was in AA, and they sat in the car and they drove me to the AA rooms in Sector 9 in Chandigarh. And I went there, I was lost, I was filled with shame, I was in denial, I did not know what was happening to me, because I felt anybody in my situation would want to drink. And what I was doing was what anybody would want to do. And I remember when my father used to come pick me up from those AA rooms, I used to scream at him, I used to shout at him, and I used to tell him that you're exposing me to the world. This is a matter of my reputation. What are you doing? But my dad was looking at the bigger picture, because this was, end of the day, a matter of life and death. But here I was sitting with that archaic way of thinking, and that was all instilled in me because of social conditioning and things I was taught, and things that were ingrained so strongly in my system while growing up. um, and I kept trying. I was sitting in those rooms. I tried to keep sober for 3 months, but I was trying to keep sober for the wrong reasons, because I wanted to prove a point to the world that I'm not an alcoholic. And I was in and out of those rooms. I felt very lonely because there were no women in recovery. There were no women in the program. There were no sponsors. And I was like, am I the only woman alcoholic sitting in Chandigarh with two more who are in and out of the rooms? And there was a lot of frustration. I kept running, and that kept prolonging my recovery, because I was like, I'm going to try yoga, I'll try meditation, but this program is not working. And there are a bunch of crackpots who sit in this room who talk about the concept of a higher power, and it never works. And I kept falling, I kept getting up. I became a serial relapser, but I was so stubborn. And it is a disease of denial, extremes, it is a disease of obsessions. It kept me stuck. Till one fine day, what my higher power really did was he speeded up my drinking. And I started living in isolation. I cut myself from the world. I would lock myself in the room and I would drink, but I didn't want to go to those rooms because I had fear of people looking at me in those rooms and it becoming a gossip. And my higher power speeded up my drinking, and I hit rock bottom on the 17th of April 2022. And that's when I got this desperate desire that, come what may, I do not want to be in that dark space anymore. And I remember my sister, who's in New York, used to make me talk to all these powerful women in recovery. So I picked up the phone, and I had a sponsor at that time, but I had to review my relationship with my sponsor. My first sponsor did a lot of dirty work with me, and I'm very grateful for that. Whenever I fell, he asked me to get up, and then we restarted. But then somehow I had to review my relationship because there was a lack of connection. I wanted to see more women in recovery. I wanted to get inspired by women. I wanted to get encouraged. I wanted to have that fellowship where I had somebody who was like me. And I remember picking up the phone and I started calling people all over. And I called up this one girl I knew in America. She held my hand, this other girl in New York. And I started keeping sober over a Zoom call. And I stayed sober for 3 months. And then it was time to come closer to home. But again, I had so much social stigma, and I wanted to maintain that secrecy, that I very reluctantly started joining the Shakti online meetings. And I remember I used to keep my camera off and I used to hear everybody's shares. And I used to be blown by all these powerful women and how inspiring they were, including Jyoti and my sponsor now. And I used to take this paper and pen and write down everybody's names and pick up the phone and call them up and start having these conversations till I actually reached Delhi. And I remember my first phone call with my sponsor. She said, "Oh, it's very nice to know that you are 3 months sober. The point is not to stop, the point is to remain stopped." And I was like, oh my God, but I didn't get intimidated because she means business when it comes to the program. I reached Delhi, and when I met her in person and I walked into those rooms with reluctance, again, this fear of judgment. What if somebody sees me? What if somebody finds out I'm an alcoholic? Because I didn't know, I didn't have a healthy relationship with, there was so much shame. But when she gave me the warmest hug, everything changed. I started sharing in those rooms. I started attending mixed meetings. My confidence came back. I used to get on a phone call with her every single day. And my journey kept going on like that. And I stayed sober. I touched base in Delhi every 4 weeks. I worked a very strong program. The first year was about introspection, coming to a place of realization, because I realized that I had to break patterns. I was repeating history. The second year was about reviving relationships. The third year was standing on your feet, and now it's about getting involved in the career. I started sponsoring. I started doing PI activities. I became, the host for online meetings, Shakti online meetings. I started having a lot of victories. And when I was sponsoring, I just want to touch on this little topic that this is regarding the challenges that women face when they are walking into these rooms, and this is regarding their safety and security. Because see, as women, we walk in with a lot of trauma and trauma issues, and it becomes very, very difficult to talk openly when it's a mixed meeting. And I also feel that if there is a lot of recovery in the rooms, there's also a lot of disease in the rooms. And we as women, we sit with those trust issues. We have a lack of confidence because we are in denial. And to walk into a mixed meeting in the beginning can become a very, very challenging situation for a woman, because also a woman is judged more harshly, I feel, somewhere, because she's looked at being a caretaker and a nurturer. And all these things lead to secrecy, and all these things lead a woman to not enter the rooms. And that is something that I've noticed, that women are more comfortable having a one-on-one with me, speaking to me. I've been dealing with young girls, but nobody wants to walk into those rooms. So I really hope and pray that we are more proactive in starting a women's group in Chandigarh, because I know what I went through. And I had the privilege to go travel to Delhi, but a lot of women don't have that freedom to do that every month. God's been kind, my higher power worked in my favor. But we have a lot of work to do in Chandigarh when it comes to having a women's group. And it is so important to give women a safe haven. And I really hope and pray that there is a change that comes around when it comes to giving women a safe and secure place, because it is a very challenging disease. Thank you all for listening.